Río lindo, tus aguas de plata, modulando un canto corres hacia el mar. Sobre el pentagrama de tu catarata, tus ondas parecen hondo suspirar. Vas cayendo cual gotas divinas entre tus espumas como sonatinas que en dulce concierto riman tu cantar. Sonora producen lánguidos.
There is nothing I shall want. Only goodness and kindness follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for years to come. The Lord is my shepherd, there is nothing I shall want.
A reading from the Book of Wisdom. The souls of the righteous are in the hand of God, and no torment shall ever touch them. They seem, in the view of the foolish, to be dead, and their passing away was thought an affliction, and their going forth from us utter destruction. But they are in peace. For if to others indeed they seem punished, yet it is their hope full of immortality. Chastise a little, they shall be greatly blessed, because God tried them and found them to be worthy of himself. As gold in the furnace he proved them, and as sacrificial offerings he took them to himself. Those who trust in him shall understand truth, and the faithful shall abide with him in love. Because grace and mercy are with his holy ones, and his care is with the elect. The word of the Lord.
We gather as those who remember with great love Manuel, and I'm sure that this prayer that Jesus taught us is one that was on his lips many times, in Spanish and in English.
We shall not wander, and to believe in me shall go first. No one can come to me unless the Father wills, and I will raise you up.
everyone, thank you so much for being here. It just gives us, our family, so much gratefulness to see you guys here. To celebrate the life of my father, Manuel Martinez. You know, my dad was, he always wanted us to not cry. He said, oh, I don't want you guys to cry, you know, I want this to be a celebration when I die, but it's kind of impossible not to get emotional, knowing that he's not with us anymore. But we're gonna do my best to honor my father and staying as strong as possible and celebrating his life instead of mourning his death. You know, this is our church, this is our family church for the people who don't know. We've been coming here since my family immigrated here from Honduras, you know, starting with my grandmother. I mean, we've been coming to this church probably since the 60s. So, how long has this church been here, Father? 120 years. So the Martinez family has been here for half of that. And like, I was baptized here with my cousin Troy. You know, we've had masses for a lot of our family who have passed away here. You know, my grandmother, as I mentioned, my aunt Tete, who was almost like a second mother to my dad, my uncle Francisco, my cousin Michael, my godparents, Moncho and Telma. You know, just the list goes on and on. So we're just continuing the lineage. We'll see who's next. But you know, it's part of the, like the father said, unfortunately, you know, it's part of life. Is, you know, it's temporary. So I'm taking that with me. You know, I want to thank the Father and Yanet and everyone who works with Blessed Sacrament. And if we could just acknowledge the musicians that have been so wonderful today. Sarah and Joel, thank you. And I want to just also remind everyone that in the garden behind the church, we're having a little reception afterwards. So there'll be food and drinks, so please join us. And my cousin Aaron also brought a little speaker so that people can say more things about my dad. If there's anything, if you're moved to say something, a story about my dad, go for it. That's what it's there for. We're there to celebrate and also mourn as a group, as we've all come together for this occasion. And I'm really, really so happy that you guys are here. Really, really brings me very honored, very honored. I want to acknowledge some people who traveled far distances to be here today. Our friend and active duty Marine Staff Sergeant Nate Kemple came here all the way from Temecula today. Thank you, sir. Our family friend Lee Bilski came all the way from Pennsylvania. Lee, thank you so much for coming. You know, her son Stephen was a very dear friend of mine, and really happy you're here. Victor Rivera, who's like a second brother, came all the way from Seattle today. And Chris Henry, who came all the way from Hawaii. You know, I just want to take another time to acknowledge the people who knew my dad almost as their second dad. People who I grew up with, Michael Dominguez, Dave Laney, Ethan. You guys just raise your hand if you grew up with me, Donovan Coe. Like if you grew up with me, I just want you to raise your hand so the people here know who you are. Stan Engel, thank you. You know, I mean, these are people who Jennifer Page, you know, gosh. You know, these are people who I grew up with and people that meant a lot to my father and people who really looked up to him. And it was felt, the love was felt, and he loved you guys too. Really appreciate you guys being here. And I just want to acknowledge my family as well too. My cousin Roman, who came all the way from Bakersfield. Troy, are you here, Troy? Is Troy here yet? Hopefully he gets here. I know he's got plans, he's got a lot of stuff going on. But Troy came from Berkeley. Michelle came from Massachusetts. Thank you, Michelle, for coming, for making the trip. My Uncle Jerry, who came from New Orleans, and my aunt, my beloved Aunt Carol, who came all the way from New Orleans as well, too. Isabel, my dear Aunt Isabel, came all the way from New Jersey. Thank you so much for coming. And obviously my dear Aunt Rose, who brings an army with her wherever she goes, the Montenegros. You guys know who you are. There's a lot of you, and we really, really appreciate you guys always being there for us. And we love you very much. Is Maria here? Maria? Maria. I love you, Maria. Maria is also part of the OG Hollywood Martinez crew. You really laid the groundwork for us, and I really appreciate you so much, especially your parents who were so dear to us. One of them, they're dear to Mario as well, too. Thank you. My uncle Carlos was not here. He hurt his foot, but like I said, he lives a couple blocks away. You know, this was, our neighborhood. So, I just want to thank Carlos as well, too. And Sylvia Marina, who did the lovely artwork right there. And is Carrie Moloko here? Oh, Carrie, you're here. Thank you so much. Carrie did the wonderful program that's being passed around to everyone. She helped me do the design. And Carrie, literally, thank you so much. It's a very good friend of my girlfriend who's also going through some pretty intense health issues at the moment. So if, we're here in a place of prayer, if you can also extend a prayer for Reed as well, too. Thank you. Pedro Castro, who edited the, Pedro, where are you, buddy? He's all the way in the back. Love you, buddy. Pedro edited the lovely slideshow, which we're going to take to the garden. It's really, really a great slideshow. We have to put it on mute, but we'll put it on there when we get an opportunity to do so. And the man you see with the camera, that's not paparazzi, that's my good friend Rick Cossack, who's taking pictures. So thank you, Rick, for being here for me. Thank you, buddy. I also want to thank a lot of you in the audience, like my buddy Joe, Lindsay, a bunch of you guys, Benji, that took the time to send us flowers and food and cards and gifts and words of encouragement during this very difficult time for us. So I wanted to say thank you. Love you guys. Thank you for everything. My dad's nurse, Rosalind. I think I just saw you come in, Rosalind. Where are you? Is Rosalind here? Rosalind's here. Thank you. Rosalind, can you wave your hand a little? Yeah, that's Rosalind. She was my dad's hospice nurse. And, oh man, you really did such an amazing job with him, Rosalind. Like, you really took such good care of my dad in the end of his life. Really guided him into a soft, pillowy end. And we really, really appreciate that you were there for us. You're a true professional. And thank you for being there first. It's really, really important. Of course, my dear brother Bill came all the way from Seattle. His lovely wife Gabby, who did such a lovely job with the readings. We have a lot of good memories, Bill. And, Mario was a big part of that. You watching all that stuff in the slideshow, which hopefully we'll all get to see, be pretty neat. My father was a very special man. He was truly one of the bravest people I've ever known. And if you can look and you read the biography, you can look at that. He fought in 2 wars, which just sounds asinine, like 1 war's enough. Why do you give a man 2 wars to fight? But he endured a pretty tough childhood, and he carried it over here in Hollywood. My dad worked some pretty intense jobs. He lived in garages. He slept in cars with his friends. He was the real deal. Times were different back then. Latino people in general, unfortunately, were pretty discriminated against back in the day here in this country, which, my dad was part of a movement to help sort of get us into assimilation, I guess, if that makes any sense. We've all seen the movie Selena, or, it's kind of like, that story, So, my dad knew that he said, he got drafted to fight in the Air Force. He got drafted to become a Vietnam vet, but it was part of his sacrifice that he knew that he had to do for me, for us, for all the new generation of Latinos, Martinez family, Montenegro's family, that said, we need to be accepted in American society. And he was proud to do it. It was very easy to do. At one point, my dad, he met with a counselor in high school here at LA High, and he told the counselor, I want to be a doctor. And the counselor told him, well, you should have more realistic goals. How about mechanic? You should be a mechanic, is what he told him. Yeah, it's real deal. And my dad said, okay, let me do this instead. He went to fight in Vietnam. He came back, and on the GI Bill, he attended UCLA and got classes in business administration. And he used those education because my dad knew he needed building blocks, education, and he opened up his own business. He opened up his own business called Metro Graphics, and he was a design company. He was a graphics designer. So my dad really knew that he had the cards stacked against him, but that never stopped him. He was always just determined to go the extra mile. And that's just who he was, because he wanted a better life for me. He wanted a better life for my brother. He wanted a better life for my mother, and all his family, all his friends. That's who he was. He spoiled us. That's that's something that we should be very truthful about. Like, my dad gave me everything, like G.I. Joe toys and He-Man toys and Star Wars, all that stuff. My dad, like I said, he wanted a better life for me, so he spoiled me, and that was fantastic that he was able to do that. He took us to the Super Bowl. Remember that, Bill and my mom? Yeah, my dad took us to watch, he's a huge Raiders fan. He took us to watch the Raiders versus the Redskins in Tampa Bay, 1984, Super Bowl 18, largest margin of victory at the time. I mean, who does that? Who does that? Like it's probably expensive, but he took his whole family to the Super Bowl. Now I can brag that I've been to a Super Bowl. But I wanted to tell this one story just about my father, just to kind of, just to see where he was at in his life, in his head. Because maybe with those embarrassment of riches that we grew up with as kids, he also wanted us to remain humble. My dad used to pick up my cousin Desiree and I from school, and I remember one time we were just whining and complaining about like some really just innocuous stuff, some really just like we wanted an extra ice cream, we wanted an extra toy, and we were being bad. We were just being bad, bratty kids is what we were being. And my dad got upset, He said, you guys have everything and you guys want more. And I said to myself, well, yeah, you're a little kid, you don't know any better. So my dad, was upset. And on the way home, he drove a van, a blue Chevy van, a two-tone Chevy van. And not too far from here, it was literally like a block away. He came up and he saw a destitute woman on the street and yelled at her. He's like, hey, do you need help? Do you need groceries? This woman said yes. So my dad took me and my cousin Desiree to go shop for groceries. And then we came back and we met up with this lady. It was only a couple blocks away from here. And we went to her house, this apartment. It was a dingy apartment, pretty dodgy looking place. And he had me and my cousin Desiree carry these groceries. And, the place was poor. I mean, it was destitute. It smelled like feces. It cockroaches, and here we were giving groceries to these people, a stranger. And my dad really did it to be, to be generous, but he also did it to teach us a lesson. You got to remain humble. Me and my cousin Desiree were never quite the same after learning that lesson. I know it was a pretty hard lesson to learn, but it humbled us. We weren't as spoiled after that. We realized that there are people out there that are much, much more need than we are. And to never lose sight of that. And that's part of my dad right there. Talking about the sacrifice, I want to talk about my dad's, he had his legs removed. This is part of something that, as a soldier, you see a lot. And my dad, I remember he had a little bit of trouble at first going through that adjustment of losing his legs. But once he was able to get through that, he got his legs removed, and I got an offer to go out of town for 10 months on a job, and I felt very hesitant to go out of town to New Orleans. And I was like, I don't want to leave my family. I don't want to leave my dad. He's over here without legs. The idea of leaving for 10 months wasn't good for me. But my dad said, son, this is your future. This is a good opportunity for you. You go. We're going to be okay. And when you come back in 10 months, I'm going to be walking again, is what he told me. And sure enough, in 10 months, when they came back, he was on prosthetics, but he came back and he answered the doorbell in his prosthetics, and he was walking again, as a 66-year-old man, or however old he was, 67. Learning to walk again is a pretty impressive feat. I want to take a moment to acknowledge everyone who's come here from the Veterans Administration. I have this row of my dad's friends in the front, and anyone who has served, really. I just would like if you could just stand for us if you've conserved, if that's okay, and just give these gentlemen a round of applause for giving their service to this country. Thank you guys for being my dad's friends. Really, really appreciate you guys. My good friend Brett Van Ork, who's in the audience too. Brett, where are you, buddy? Brett, thank you, man. Brett was so sweet. Right when my dad passed, he sent me a really kind message. And I know you're, Brett, you're like a very poetic guy. He said that my dad was truly an American hero. That's what he said. He's a man that comes from a different country to make a better life for his family. That's what he did. That's what he did. He accomplished that. It's amazing. When you wrote that to me, Brett, it resonated so hard. And I really thank you for doing that, man, because it's true. My dad was a real American hero, a man who really had the cards stacked against him and against all odds. Succeeded and made a great life, really great life. He would give the shirt off his back to any of you guys. He was all about sacrifice. He's the most honest person I've ever met. Very exemplary man. I want to reserve my last thanks, my gosh, to my mother. Letty. Talk about sacrifice, man. This woman has done everything for us. She's done everything for him. Her whole routine was based around taking care of my father. You're the bravest, strongest person I've ever met. And we're so blessed that you're with us. We take advantage of all of this. We take advantage of all the rest of the time we have with you, because once again, time is temporary, and you got to take advantage of that as much as you possibly can, everyone. It all goes a little quickly, so we have to really just hold on to the people that you love and never let go. Of course, we all have disagreements and arguments here and there. But, my dad would have really have loved it if everyone just, especially here, this group that is gathered here, to really love one another. In closing, I just want to say that, my dad loved playing the lotto. He loved playing the lottery. He wanted to win millions of dollars. And he wanted to win millions of dollars not so he could, buy yachts and, 8 houses around the world, if that's your dream, go for it, But my dad really just wanted to be comfortable, and he wanted to give the rest away to charity. He always said that. He always said that, hey, if I win the lotto, we'll buy a nice house, but then I'll give the rest away to charity. That's what he said. And, one of the last things that I said to him before he passed away, I said, well, Dad, we never won the lotto. But we won the lottery with him. We won the lottery of life. We won the lottery that Manuel Martinez was our father, our husband, our brother, our friend, our mentor. We all are blessed to have known him, and we're all better people for it. We won the lottery with you, Manuel Martinez. And, until we meet again, and we really thank him for being the best father, husband, and man that we will ever know. Once again, thank you everyone for coming. We really, really, my family appreciates it so much. So many beautiful faces in the crowd that we have grown up with over the years and that we come to love. And you guys mean a lot to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason, for your beautiful words. Again, one of the many things that Mario was a member of the United States Air Force.
Friends and family, during the playing of taps, if you have served or are currently serving in the United States Armed Forces, this is your opportunity to render one final hand salute. All others may participate by placing the right hand over your heart.
For your loved one's honorable and faithful service to his country.
I do receive this flag with the honor and grateful with this flag of the
Thank you,
United
ma'am.
States.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Please stand.
Thank you for coming.
You know what? You know what? Are you going to have the Kentucky Derby? Are you? I'm still the champion.